Maybe you know. Science meets the questions you never thought to ask. On September 1st, 1953, a 27-year-old man named Henry Molaison lay on an operating table in Hartford, Connecticut. A surgeon named William Beecher Scoville drilled 2 holes above his eyes, reached in with a metal straw, and suctioned out tissue the size of a lemon. Henry was awake. He felt nothing. When he woke up, his epilepsy was gone. So was every new memory he would ever try to make. For the next 55 years, every morning would be his first. To understand what happened to Henry, you have to understand 1953. Television was new. Polio was still terrifying. And brain surgery, real brain surgery, was barely 30 years old. Henry had been having seizures since he was 10. By 27, they were eating his life. He couldn't hold a job, couldn't drive. Anticonvulsants didn't work. So his family found Dr. Scoville, a tall, charismatic surgeon at Hartford Hospital who had operated on hundreds of patients. Scoville had a theory. The seizures, he believed, were starting deep inside Henry's medial temporal lobes, 2 horseshoe-shaped structures buried beneath the ears. Cut them out, and the seizures stop. He'd tried versions of this surgery on psychiatric patients with mixed results. But Henry wasn't mentally ill. He was just a quiet, polite young man who wanted his life back. The night before the operation, Henry's mother held his hand. Henry told her he was scared, not of dying, of waking up different. He had no idea how right he was. The next morning, Scoville opened his skull, and the man who walked into that hospital would never really walk back out. 2 years later, in 1955, a young Canadian neuropsychologist named Brenda Milner traveled from Montreal to meet Henry. She was 37 years old. She'd never met a patient like him. Henry was friendly, articulate. He could discuss politics, solve puzzles, tell you about his childhood in vivid detail. But every 20 seconds, his world reset. Milner would introduce herself, step out of the room, come back, and Henry would smile politely and say, "Have we met?" She tested him for hours. She would show him 3 numbers, 5, 8, 4, and ask him to remember them. He could, for about 30 seconds. Then they were gone forever. She gave him paper to draw on. He'd glance up, see her, and say hello like it was the first time. Milner kept coming back. For weeks. For months. For years. Henry never once recognized her. But she was watching something no one had ever seen before. A human being trapped in an eternal present. Living without a future. Because no future could be saved. And inside that loop, Milner was about to discover something that would split the science of memory in 2. To understand what was broken in Henry, picture your brain like a film studio. Your senses are the camera. They roll constantly. But raw footage isn't memory yet. Somebody has to take that footage, cut it, label it, and slide it into the archive. That somebody is the hippocampus, the structure Scoville had scooped out of Henry's brain. The hippocampus doesn't store your memories. It writes them. It takes today's lunch, this morning's argument, the song stuck in your head, and during sleep, files them into the long-term archive in your cortex. Damage the archive, you lose old memories. Damage the writer, you can never make new ones. Henry had lost the writer. Roughly 8 centimeters of tissue gone, including most of both hippocampi and the surrounding amygdala. His old memories, the ones already filed before 1953, were mostly intact. He remembered the stock market crash, his parents, his childhood dog. But after September 1st, 1953, nothing was archived, ever. Every conversation, every meal, every face, recorded by his senses, then deleted within a minute. Imagine watching a movie where the screen wipes clean every 30 seconds. That was Henry's life. And yet, what came next made no sense at all. In 1962, Brenda Milner sat Henry down at a desk. In front of him was a 5-pointed star drawn on paper and a mirror angled so he could only see the star's reflection. The task was simple and impossibly hard. Trace the star using only the mirror image. Your hand goes left when you think it should go right. Your brain rebels. The first time anyone tries it, their pencil flies off the paper. Henry tried it. He failed badly. The next day, Milner sat him down again. Henry didn't remember her. Didn't remember the desk. Didn't remember ever having seen a star drawn on paper. She handed him the pencil and asked him to try. He looked at it like it was the first time. And then his hand moved with stunning precision. He traced the star almost perfectly. Henry stared down at his own hand. Confused, he said, that was easier than I thought it would be. Milner sat there in stunned silence. Henry had learned something. His hands remembered. His muscles remembered. His brain, somewhere deep, remembered. Just not the part that knew it remembered. In that moment, the entire science of memory split into two, and nothing has been the same since. That mirror experiment was published in 1962, and it set off a quiet revolution. Milner had proven, in one trial, that memory wasn't one thing. It was at least two. There was declarative memory, facts, faces, what you had for breakfast. That was the system Henry had lost. And there was procedural memory, riding a bike, typing, tracing a star, stored not in the hippocampus, but in the cerebellum and basal ganglia, deep in the back and base of the brain. Scientists raced to test it. In 1980, Larry Squire at UC San Diego ran experiments on amnesiac patients, showing they could learn complex motor tasks while having zero memory of doing them. In 1992, Daniel Shatter described priming, a third type of memory Henry also still had. Show Henry a list of words for a moment. Hours later, ask him to fill in word fragments. He'd choose words from a list. He had no idea why. He just felt they were right. Henry took 14 IQ tests over 5 decades. He got faster every time. He never remembered taking a single one. Modern psychology textbooks still divide memory using the categories Brenda Milner found in that quiet room, with that pencil and that star. And here's where it gets stranger. Henry lived until 2008. He was 82 years old. For 55 years, he was studied by hundreds of scientists. Brenda Milner saw him every few years for the rest of his life. Every visit, he greeted her like a stranger. But once, in the 1990s, she asked him a question she'd asked him hundreds of times. Did he know who he was? He paused, smiled, and said, "I'm someone who's helping science." He didn't know how. He didn't know where. He couldn't have told you what year it was. But somehow, after thousands of hours of testing, that one fact, that he mattered, had soaked into him. Not into his hippocampus. Not into language. Into something else we still don't have a name for. After he died, his brain was driven from Boston to San Diego, where neuroscientist Jacobo Onesi sliced it into 2,401 microscopic sections, each thinner than a human hair. The slicing was live-streamed. Around 400,000 people watched. They built a 3D digital atlas of Henry's brain you can still browse online today. And inside those slices was a small surprise. Scoville hadn't taken everything. A sliver of hippocampus had survived, and no one knows what it remembered. Right now, as you watch this, your hippocampus is working. It's tagging this video, tagging the room you're in, tagging the face of the person you last spoke to. Tonight, when you sleep, it will replay all of it, fast in tiny bursts, and decide what to keep. Most of it gets deleted. The good stuff, the emotional stuff, the surprising stuff, that gets archived. This is why you remember your first kiss, but not last Tuesday. The hippocampus is also one of the first regions destroyed by Alzheimer's disease. Roughly 55 million people worldwide live with dementia today. The early symptoms, forgetting names, repeating questions, getting lost on familiar streets. That's the hippocampus failing, slowly, the way Henry's failed in one afternoon. Everything we know about how to test for it, slow it, and someday treat it traces back through Brenda Milner's lab notes. Through that mirror, through that star, through Henry. He never knew he changed the world. He couldn't. He couldn't remember anything past breakfast. But every time a doctor diagnoses early Alzheimer's, every time a stroke survivor relearns to walk, every time a child memorizes a poem, Henry is in the room. The man who couldn't remember became impossible to forget. Go back to that operating table. September 1st, 1953. Henry is awake. He feels nothing. The lemon-sized piece of his brain has just been carried out of the room in a metal tray. Scoville closes his skull. Henry goes home. He has no idea his life is over. He has no idea his life is just beginning. For the next 55 years, he answered every question with patience, every test with kindness. He was, by every account that ever met him, one of the gentlest men anyone had ever known. He did the thing none of us could do. He gave his entire mind to science, and never once knew he had. The next morning, and the next morning, he woke up new. And every one of those mornings, somewhere in a lab, somebody learned something because of him. He felt nothing on that operating table. He felt nothing for the next 55 years. But the rest of us, we felt everything. If Henry's story unlocked something in you, wait until you meet the woman who can't feel fear. A real patient, alive today, whose brain is missing one tiny structure most of us never think about. Scientists have tried snakes, horror films, even a haunted house. She laughed through every test. The video drops next week. Subscribe so you don't miss the moment science met someone fearless. Thanks for watching. If this sparked a question, drop it in the comments. It might be your next video. We'll see you next time.